Imagine being able to finish a book in just one day, while others are stuck spending months and months barely making any progress. I'm Alex, a surgeon and the founder and CEO of a few edtech companies, and through my time in medical school, surgical training, and later in business, I've had to read hundreds of books across a variety of different subjects. But here's the thing, I don't want to be spending all of my time reading. Like you, I want to spend my time on the things that really matter, building my business, enjoying my time with my family, and investing in my own health and hobbies. And so I created a reading method that massively cuts down the time that I spend finishing a book while still retaining all of the information. It's called the Pentaread method, and it's based on 5 key strategies that anybody can use to read books up to 7 times faster. Whether you're an entrepreneur, student, or a busy professional, this method will completely change the way that you consume information. So hit that subscribe button and let's dive in, starting with the first strategy on today's list. The first step to reading faster is all about preparation, previewing the material before diving into the actual content. Think of it a little bit like this. You wouldn't set off on a road trip without knowing where you're headed first, right? Previewing is essentially giving yourself a map of the book. Skim through the chapter titles first, then the subheadings, any summaries, or even highlighted quotes or call-outs if the book has them. Doing this helps our brains to create a mental framework of the content to come. You'll get a sense of what's coming and, most importantly, where that critical information lies. For example, when I'm reading business books, I'll quickly identify the relevant chapters on strategy or leadership because those are typically the most relevant to what I need to know. Knowing what's important before you start allows us to focus only on the sections that matter the most, saving us wasting our time on fluff or less relevant detail. This strategy alone has cut down my reading time by hours and hours, especially if you're tackling something dense or technical. Next up, let's tackle one of the biggest barriers to reading faster, your internal monologue. We all have that voice in our heads that reads the words out loud as we go through the text. While it feels natural, this process actually slows us down significantly. When you hear every word mentally, you're reading at the same speed you would speak, which is far slower than how fast your brain can process things visually. The good news here is that you can train yourself to read without that internal voice. Tools like Spreeder can help bypass that mental bottleneck, and this software flashes words at you at increasingly fast rates, pushing you to process them visually rather than auditorially. It feels weird at first, like you're reading too fast to understand, but give it a little bit of time. When I started, I was reading around 250 words per minute, but after practicing for a few days, I doubled that to over 500 words a minute. Now I can read at those speeds pretty comfortably, even without using the tool itself. It's a small shift, but eliminating that voice can instantly boost our reading speed by about 50% or more. This next strategy is a bit of a hack that I absolutely love, and you might have heard of it before. It's called combining audiobooks with reading. It's listening to an audiobook while simultaneously reading the text, and this allows us to engage both our visual and auditory senses. The results? Well, you'll stay more focused, and more importantly, you read at nearly double the speed. Audiobooks naturally push you to maintain a steady pace, and when paired with visual reading, you're reinforcing that content through 2 different channels, hearing and seeing the words, which are processed in different parts of our brain. This is especially helpful when you're tired or if you tend to get distracted easily. I found that this approach slashed my reading time by about 40%, and it had the added benefit of improving my comprehension. If I ever zoned out while reading, the audiobook would bring my focus back. And you can even increase the playback speed on audiobooks as you get more comfortable. Personally, I tend to listen to audiobooks at around 1.5 while reading, and it works wonders for efficiency without losing any of that understanding. Here's a surprisingly simple yet highly effective way to speed up your reading. You can use a visual tracker. It could be as basic as putting your finger or a pen to guide your eyes across the text, and this keeps your eyes focused on the line you're reading and prevents unnecessary backtracking, which is a common habit that slows most of us down. Visual tracking ensures that our eyes move smoothly and consistently, helping us to maintain a rhythm as we look across the words. When I started using this technique, I was a little bit skeptical, but I quickly noticed that I was staying more focused, avoiding distractions, and naturally increasing my reading speed. It's like having a guide on the page that keeps you moving forward at all times. Over time, this technique can push your reading speed up to 600 words per minute or more, and it's one of the easiest strategies to implement right now. You can try it with a pen or with your finger next time you're reading and watch how much faster you can get through a page. Finally, one of the most important strategies is to summarize and consolidate what we're reading. It's not just about the speed, it's also about retaining the information too. After we finish reading a section or a chapter, try and take a moment to reflect and mentally summarize the key points in your own words. I often do this by condensing the main ideas into just 1 or 2 sentences if I can. If the material isn't crucial, that's cool too. That counts as part of your summary. Summarizing forces our brains to actively engage with the material, which then strengthens our memory and the retention of that content. content. If you're reading non-fiction like a self-improvement or a business book, this step is crucial for turning knowledge into action. For example, when I first read through James Clear's Atomic Habits, I didn't just finish the book and then move on. I actively summarized the key takeaways and thought about how I could put some of the tips into my real life through action points. This step then turns passive reading into active learning and ensures that any time saved reading more quickly is then translated into valuable knowledge. So that's it. That's the Pentaread method: previewing the material, removing that internal dialogue, using audiobooks for speed and focus, and then tracking your reading visually and always summarizing and consolidating back what you've learned. These strategies help me balance running a business, enjoying my life, and still getting through my reading list without spending hours stuck inside a book. I really hope you enjoyed today's video, and thank you so much for watching. Do hit that subscribe button for more videos like this, and be sure to check out this video where I go into my speed reading technique in a little bit more detail. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.